So getting better at farming in Deadlock is kind of a complicated process because there's a lot to farming in Deadlock. I'm going to start by talking about some of the more basic aspects of farming and the true numbers-based ideas that are behind it, i.e. spawn timers, and then I'm going to get into the more ephemeral subjects such as how to play around lanes, how to farm outside of lane, and all that type of stuff. Let's get started. Spawn timers. There are a lot of different spawn timers. We're just going to talk through them one by one so that you can get a handle on it. If you look on the map, these tiny triangles, like the one here, like the one over here, like the one here, and then there's going to be one directly below me, are all for tier 1 camps. They are the smallest camps. They do not give a ton of farm, but they do give farm. And so you should make sure that you're doing them when you have the opportunity. Now, if you look at the map, though, you'll see that, for example, the opposite side of the map here has a different camp than the one that we have. And the same is true over here. They have one on their side, but this side doesn't have one. There is only 4 tier 1 camps on the map. They are not very common for obvious reasons, because otherwise you could super easily giga farm your way through them and you'd get super ahead off of nothing. But they are still worth it. They are still worth looking into and making sure that you run around and do them. They are still worth farm, and they are worth trying to fight over. In mid lane, it's not as much of a thing because most of the time, people on either side just kind of do their camp and leave that to be that, unless they're trying to get aggressive because they have a lead. But on the side lanes, fighting over this camp is something that happens quite a bit. On both lanes, there is a little side path that'll lead up to the smaller camp, make it easier to try and steal it and get away. It's something that'll happen a lot. It's something that you got to watch out for in early game, but it's not as much of a big deal as time goes on. And as the late game goes, most characters will clear these camps with one ability, so they're not worth that much thought, other than in the early game. They do respawn quite quickly. I believe it's only a minute and a half. The timers have changed a few times, so I could be wrong. They respawn just about as fast as boxes do, and fun fact, they spawn at the same time as boxes do. So when boxes spawn and you want to run around and do boxes, don't forget that your tiny camp spawns at the same time as well. This is a fairly standard T2 camp. These spawn at 6 minutes. There's a few different variations of them, so I'll show a couple of them off. There's this version where it's the 3 minions and then the 2 smaller minions off to the side. And lastly, there's this version where it's the 1 small minion and then the 3 tiny minions around them. 4 tiny minions around them. I should learn how to count. These camps spawn at 5 minutes. I may have already said that, but it bears repeating because it's kind of important. Because half of the map doesn't get the tiny camp that spawns at 2 minutes, you get extra camps that spawn at 5 minutes, meaning that you should pay attention to those and make sure that you farm them when you have the power spikes. Now, these camps are a little beefier than the tier 1 camps. They are a little harder to clear, and you will probably not be able to clear them until you hit your 4.8k spike in spirit and gun if you're that type of character, or potentially get up to a 9k spike if you're just a spirit character. They can have a little extra health, so you're probably going to end up sitting there punching them a lot in between waves. But don't forget that camps don't regen health. That's just a change that they've made at one point. That might change in the future. That might stay the same. We don't know yet. Game's under development. But don't be afraid to go up, dump your abilities on a camp, walk down and just left-click clear a wave, jump back up and go back to clearing the camp with your abilities, or vice versa. Just left-click up on the camp and use your abilities to clear a wave. Either way, these camps are very worth your time still, and they're not that hard to do solo, but early game doing them with your lane mate can be very lucrative. Now at 8 minutes, 2 different things spawn. We're going to start by talking about the tier 3 camps first, and then we'll talk about the Sinner Sacrifice after, because they each require their own level of talking. Tier 3 camps are in 2 different formats. There are the T3 camps that are 2 medium minions and 1 big minion. As you can see, there's 2 of them right next to each other on this part of the map. There's another similar grouping on the other end of the map over here that you can run and farm, but there are also farming spots where it is just 3 big T3 minions. There are a few of them throughout the map. There is usually 2 of these camps on your half of the map in safer spots, but there are also 2 on the very edges of the map over at the edge of the lane, which you can farm as well. Now, T3 camps are quite hard for you to kill on your lonesome without a very solid build or being a character like Seven or Haze or Wraith or Infernus, who have gotten pretty far ahead and have either Ricochet or Tesla bullets or something, because they just have a lot of health and they will take a little while to kill. Even post-nerf, they did get nerfed at one point. Not sure what their current status is as far as being the hardest thing to kill in the world. I haven't had a hard time lately, and they're typically pretty easy to farm, but that's me. There is, however, an item that allows you to consume the NPC, and you get 150% bonus souls, and you get a buff out of it. It's called a sacrifice. This item has been nerfed a few times. It's still pretty good. You'll see it in a lot of higher end players' builds, because being able to buy this exactly around 7.5 to 8 minutes, I know exactly around, forgive me, and then be able to immediately just walk up to a camp and go, hey, eat him for however much money he's worth, and then just ignore the rest of the camp, and then later you'll come back and use it again. The number is a little off right now because I have no cooldown, but it does go on cooldown for 270 seconds, so you will have a long time to wait until you're able to do that again. But doing this early and often, i.e. pay attention to your cooldown and do it as often as you can, is a very, very good way of farming souls, because just being able to eat one of the guys with Cult of Sacrifice is worth a lot of money. It's not as worth it anymore. Getting 150% bonus souls is nice. Getting the buff is nice, but not every character is buying Cult of Sacrifice anymore, because at the moment, with how power spikes work and with how laning works and with how farm has changed and how they're easier to kill than they used to be, it's not as worth it to spend 3,200 souls on an orange item if your character won't make use of it. However, at the highest end of play, you will often see characters like Pocket and Victor even buying Kinetic Dash and Cult of Sacrifice because their gun is just good enough to make good use of the orange, and they also really love the ability to just run around and steal random camps from either your team or the enemy team. This is a center sacrifice machine. It also spawns at the 8-minute mark. If you don't know how to do them, you will heavy punch them 4 times, and then you will hit them as their lights are filling. If you want a visual example, here you go. If you do that, as you see, you will get 4 mini gold statue buffs, and you will get a lot of souls out of it. However, as you can also see, that cost me about 300 health. Early game, that's a lot of health. As you get into the mid game and later, it's not as big of a deal, but it is almost always worth it to make sure you are doing your center sacrifice machines as early as possible. They spawn at 8 minutes and they keep respawning after that. They give you tons of buffs, they give you lots of souls, they're very worthwhile. As you can see though, you have to heavy melee it 4 times, or light melee it 8, it does work. And then you have to melee it as the lights are finishing glowing. Now, something that I learned is that as this light right here where my crosshair is centered, when it lights up, if you hold the heavy melee, you will almost always be able to get your full 4 items out of it. You can also light melee it right as all the lights light up, but then you don't get as many buffs out of the machine. It's typically not worth it, but you can do it to either steal one from the enemy team or just try and make sure that you get it before you get ganked by the enemy team, because they heard you punching it. These things are very loud. At 10 minutes into the game, mid-boss spawns, the subway room right above mid-boss spawns, and this annoying talking urn spawns. This is the soul urn. This is actually a super important part of farming in this game, believe it or not, because it is an objective that is neutral that will be fought over. Now, when you pick it up, you will lose access to all your actions, and it will show you a spot on the other end of the map to go and find. It usually tells you to go exactly to the opposite end of the map where it could spawn on the other half. However, if you are 10% souls ahead of the enemy team, I believe is the number, there are other delivery spots around here and here inside this building, as well as down here or down here, where you can deliver it. That's the other spot on the map where it'll spawn that you will be told to deliver it to if your souls are pretty even. Those more dangerous spots to deliver it to, in the 4 almost corners of the map, are for when the soul is a comeback mechanic. When you are really ahead of the enemy team, you'll be forced to deliver it into enemy territory to get the souls out of it, but the enemy team, if they grab it, can deliver it to their half of the map, and it is a little bit safer for them. Now, the way that the urn works is it has a flat amount of souls in it. When you deliver it, you get half that amount of souls delivered to your team instantly. And everybody gets a single buff that you could get from a golden statue. The other half of the souls just kind of go out into the air, into the ether, as collectible souls that you can shoot, punch, whatever, and the enemy team can steal as well. I want to very quickly show off what it looks like to deliver the urn so I can show off the souls going in the air, and you can see what I'm talking about. As you can see, the place to deliver it is very deep in enemy territory behind their guardians and is in the middle of their camps and stuff. If you hold on to the soul urn too long, you will actually start taking damage over time from it. It is a percentage of your maximum health per second. And then if it gets dropped, you will not be able to pick it up again for a certain amount of time. There's the max health drop. I'm going to deliver it so that I don't have to deal with that, and then show you how the souls that go into the air look. As you can tell, they are just soul things for you to shoot. You can also melee them to pick them up. Meleeing is typically the most efficient way to grab as much as possible. Those are split amongst all the allies who are in the area when you deliver it, so you should probably help deliver the soul urn. You can steal it from the enemy team. You can smack them once and they will drop it on the ground, and you can then DoorDash it to yourself. DoorDashing is something that I heard someone say in a match where they delivered it almost all the way to the drop-off point. The enemy team got smacked and dropped it, and you just got to pick it up and put it in, so they DoorDashed you the urn. I thought it was funny. I hope it sticks. But it's a really, really powerful thing in order to get your team a lot of souls really fast, and if you're behind by that certain amount, delivering it as a comeback urn to your half of the map can be very, very worthwhile. So most people know where mid-boss spawns. There are these side tunnels that'll go directly down to it on the side. There are these side little vertical tunnels. Are they still called tunnels if they're vertical? Answer me in the comments. It's vertical tunnels on either side that'll go straight down, and then there are these little side paths that will slowly lead down to the bottom and lead to this little room. Now, because I'm just in free roam and it's not 10 minutes yet, all the boxes haven't spawned yet. But at 10 minutes in game time, there will be boxes and golden statues galore in this room that only spawns at 10 minutes. It's a very worthwhile thing to go out of your way to go and do. However, because it is dead center of the map, if you do not have your guardian up on your side of the map, either side of the map, you will be in big trouble if the enemy team catches you in here, because it is hard to get out, because the only way out is either to find either one of the ropes on the corner to lead you out through one of the tunnels, or you have to go straight back up through either of the sets of stairs. This is a very worthwhile room to farm. It's also a great place to snipe the mid-boss away from the enemy team by waiting up here and then dropping down and team fighting in it. Alright, felt fantastic. You've told me where all the farm is. How do I actually farm, though? You promised that this would be a farming video. How do we actually farm? Well, that's what this part of the video is going to be about. Now, this part of the video, I'm going to focus a bit on the more hyper carries of the game. Now, what do I mean by hyper carries? I mean characters that if they are left alone, they will probably be able to just win the game and just delete the enemy team in every single fight, unless they are like dealt with and counter magicked in some way, shape, or form. I mean characters like Haze, characters like Infernus, people like Seven and Victor and Viper and Wraith. Now there are other hyper carries, other characters can become hyper carries, but these are characters that I instinctively think of when I go, if that character gets ahead and gets to farm as much as they possibly want, they're going to be a problem unless our team buys multiple counter items to make them have a bad time, because they have either safety, or they have just great pick potential, or they have great team fight potential that is also great pick potential, like Seven and Wraith. So how do these characters hyper farm? But how does the farming actually work in the mid game? Well, first things first, if you are at about the 10k souls mark, as you can see here, you should be making sure that if you haven't taken down the enemy's guardian, you're probably working on that. If yours has fallen first, make sure that you're playing safer because you don't have something to help protect you. But what you should really be doing is you run up, you make sure that you clear wave as fast as you possibly can, and then you go and you do camps. Now, if you're ahead and you're pushing past the enemy team's guardian, what you can do is you can run up and you can go, all right, I'm going to take these boxes, I'm going to take this little camp, then I'm going to leave and make sure that I am not completely out of position by the time the enemy shows back up and farms their wave. And then the wave will push into you, you'll make sure you come up here and clear it, and then you could potentially run back to your side of the map. Make sure you hit boxes there, boxes inside that room, come clear this camp, clear the camp up there maybe, as the wave continues to push, and might be under your walker at this point, so you come and you clear the wave. You're picking up on a pattern. The pattern is that as waves come in, you clear the waves. Now, if the wave is clashing, i.e. hitting both waves are in the same spot around up here, at this part of the map, you might need to just run to different parts of your map, the safer parts of your map, and just go and farm camps. So for example, Wraith could hop on a zipline over here, run over to here, and then go, all right, sick. So there's all these boxes over here. I'm going to come claim all these boxes. I'm going to come down here. I'll make sure that this camp is taken care of because it takes a little longer to do. And then by the time I get back to wave, hopefully the enemy team has cleared out their stuff, and the wave will have started pushing back down to this part of the map. So you come over here and you clear it out. The big thing is that you want to play safely around waves if you're just trying to super farm, like a character like Wraith would really like to do, because Wraith really comes online in their build around the, like, 30k mark here. So what you're trying to do is, after you hit that 10k mark, you're trying to just stay around wave and farm as fast as humanly possible to get to that 30k mark, so they can show up in team fights and start blowing people up instantly. So make sure that you're not, oh, I'm going to run around through all of this stuff when your wave is pushed all the way down here, right?
Headed to green.
Because if your wave's down here, you should be clearing your wave, pushing it up, and then when the other team's wave is coming in again, they'll probably meet around the Guardian. So you let them meet around the Guardian, run up, make sure you clear that wave too, maybe grab some boxes along the way, and then you leave and go do camps and stuff. Yeah, as a character like Wraith, because you have such a safe teleport that gets you like halfway down the lane without much problem, even without its upgrades going. With its upgrades going, it gets you even further down the lane, as you can see, and gives you a shield. But you don't need to depend on that if you're playing safe around your wave and just clearing it as fast as possible to then leave and go do camps around you. You could even argue for a very similar thing with 7 as well, where 7 comes online and live around this like 28k mark, for my build especially. I have a video on this, go find it if you want to. It's on the channel. And so as a result, you probably want to farm to this point as fast as possible. So what do? You do the exact same thing. You farm wave, and then when the wave's gone, you run around and grab boxes. And if there are camps up near you, come and grab the camps. This camp in particular is a pretty safe and easy one, because if the enemy team wants to come to you, they have to jump up and you can hear them coming. That one's pretty safe as well, because there's a nice little escape tunnel way back there in the... Farming often comes down to making sure you clear your wave as fast as possible, and then clear side camps as fast as possible, while also making sure you do boxes. This is something that matters a lot for characters like 7 and Wraith, because they want a lot of farm really fast. But other characters need to learn how to do it pretty efficiently as well. A character like Mo and Krill has a really easy time running boxes, because they can hop into Burrow and just run around the map a little bit faster. As you can see in Burrow, they can break boxes and make sure they grab them, and then they just kind of keep on running and keep going through the rest of the map. They have a little bit harder time clearing a camp like this one, because their AoE damage isn't as strong as a character like 7 or Wraith, but they can do it too. They just need to be a little bit safer. But the thing is, with characters like Mo and Krill, a lot of your farming doesn't come from true farming of camps and boxes. It comes from running around, clearing waves, and then fighting afterwards. Characters like Mo and Krill, characters like Paige and Lash, and potentially Dynamo, and Billy and Calico. Drifter especially. You might notice that I left out Drifter on the hypercarry part. He's a hypercarry, but he farms different. All these characters don't farm exclusively by doing camps. They want to do camps, they want to clear camps, but they want to run around, find where the enemy team is, and make sure that they're fighting over neutral objectives, or as many objectives on their side of the map as possible. You want to make sure that you're playing around Soul Urn, you're playing around buff spawns, you're trying to steal the Center Sacrifice team from the, steal the Center Sacrifice from the enemy team, I gotta speak correctly. And all of that will lead to your farm being better. Obviously, you're still focusing on waves in between doing all this. Don't lose your waves. Waves are some of the best farm in the game. But these characters will often try and be fighting and getting their farm off of killing people. Characters like Mo and Krill have their ultimate that scales off of getting more kills with it. Drifter likes getting people isolated and getting kills for their 3. Grey Talon, pretty good example of a character that will also like to fight and kill, because if they get kills with the Owl, or kills soon after the Owl, they get permanent spirit power. Characters that have these abilities that'll scale based off getting kills, like Vindicta as well, who will also scale off getting kills, will more or less want to run around and do farming by getting kills. That's also why a lot of these characters will run items like Trophy Collector in their build. Not all of them, and Trophy Collector's been nerfed a little bit, so it's not as good. But as a result, Trophy Collector will help them farm better. There's plenty of games where I'll play as Lash and just be I will put myself a little bit behind to run around and farm by fighting, and just have Trophy Collector as early as possible, so that I can get tons of extra souls per minute off Trophy Collector. So I might be the lowest farmed person on my team, but I'll have more farm than the enemy team, because Trophy Collector with like 8 stacks is giving me a massive amount of souls per minute that I wouldn't otherwise have, because I'm not running and farming camps. Farming is not a 100% perfect exact science in this game. There's a lot of give and take. There's a lot of learning how to play around waves, a lot of learning how to play around what the enemy team is doing, as well as objectives like mid-boss, as well as the urn. So if you're ever confused, find players to watch who have more experience in the game than you. If you think that player is me, oh, I'm so flattered. I do stream live most nights by 7 p.m. Eastern on my Twitch channel. The link will be down in the description. But you don't even have to watch me. You could go watch other players. You could go try and find the people who are high ranked. You could find people who are in the top 100s or the Eternus lobbies and whatever, and go and watch them and see how they farm and try and learn off of them. Different characters farm different ways. This was hopefully just a good introductory guide to at least how a lot of farming works in this game, so you can learn and improve yourself. I just want to make the Deadlock community know the game better, because I've really, really enjoyed my time in this game. I mean, I almost have like 400 or 500 hours in it already. But that's beside the point. Thanks for hanging out and watching. If you liked this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all that stuff. And I hope to catch you in the next one.